ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Let Joe Talk, or if you're returning, welcome back. This week we're going to be returning back to TV. As for me, the TV season for me has just started ramping up again, you know, on the CW, ABC, CBS, not NBC. They have bad history with my shows. But anyway, I'm happy for it. I'm happy to be back into the forefront of the TV scene. I can't wait to all my favorite shows to see how their storylines progress, but that's not really what we're talking about today. Today I want to talk about how back when I was a kid, yes, I was a kid at one point. Actually, if you go back to the channel's history, you can see me as a kid, hilariously enough. But back when I was a kid, like a lot of other kids in the world, I used to watch channels like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, for example. And I used to love those channels. Those used to be my life. Hell, at one point, I just spent an entire day watching Cartoon Network shows. Yes, I wasted my life watching Cartoon Network, but grew up better for it. But I have since obviously walked away from that part. I'm not really, you know, into that anymore because I'm older. I'm more into other things. But however, Cartoon Network still holds me a little bit because they do have a couple of good shows still on the air, like We Bare Bears and Steven Universe. But I have recently just came back into Cartoon Network seeing what were they doing, what was everyone else doing while I was busy away in real TV land for the past 3 to 4 years. And I was actually quite shocked at where the status of specifically Cartoon Network has been in recent years. And yes, I am talking about the reboots. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, thank God you don't know. But recently, Cartoon Network has decided to reboot some of the older shows that I have been watching since I was a kid. And I was really confused. Why would they reboot these shows, considering the fact they're not that old ago? Plus, I'm not really happy with the status of what those shows have become currently on the network. So first, obviously, was Teen Titans Go, which I was actually there. I was there when, you know, the announcement came. I did actually watch a couple of the first episodes. And, yeah, like a lot of older fans, I wasn't satisfied with it. It wasn't that good. I thought it was stupid half the time. But I never would have guessed at how much popular it would be that it actually took over an entire week of programming on the channel. Yes, you heard me correctly. Apparently for a full week, Teen Titans Go was airing non-stop on Cartoon Network. That is just a little bit too much. Let me rephrase that. It's too much for a channel to produce. I get that Teen Titans Go is the most popular show on the channel, but that doesn't mean like other channels like CW, which its popular show is The Flash, is going to rerun all The Flash because that's just ludicrous and crazy. And CBS, if they had just broadcast the entire show of Big Bang Theory, that's just too much. Once-in-a-lifetime marathon could be exceptional, like Simpsons did a long time ago, but when you're just doing it for Teen Titans Go, majority of the time, that's just way too much. There are limits you can take with your content and with your schedule lineup. Believe me, I obviously know about this. And eventually, too much of something is going to leave people not liking it anymore. For me, for example, if I eat the same food every single day, I'm going to get sick of it eventually, and I'm going to distance myself from it, and that's not good in the long run. I will give the studio credit for bringing back the original cast from the old days. I do give them credit for that, but that only can go so far with a new TV show. Because eventually, if the content and the humor isn't that good, then was it really worth it in the end? For a lot of people, Teen Titans Go takes a huge crap on the older fans and their childhood. Hell, they even made fun of themselves about the fact that not everyone likes the show, but it's still popular enough, so it's still on the air, which is weird. Next up, I want to talk about the Powerpuff Girls reboot. I've been there since the inception. I watched the CGI special back in 2012 or around that time frame, and then I did hear the announcement that they were going to make a new show, and I was like, great, that's great. I was never really a big Powerpuff Girl fan. When I was growing up, I did watch a couple of episodes there and there, but I was like, that's cool. Bring back the original cast and everything, but they didn't do that. And so they progressed. I have heard about the problems recently, the fact that they didn't bring back the original cast, with all of them were all on board for the CGI special, so why not bring them back for the newer one? If you did that with Teen Titans Go, why can't you do that for Powerpuff Girls? It just makes little to no sense, in my opinion. I have heard the backlash of the fourth member, I've heard a lot of just bad stuff about the show, and I was like, really? Huh. I watched an episode of it, I thought it was meh, to be completely honest with you, but again, my opinion, that's the thing. Again, another case where it takes a shit on the older fans because reasons. Also recently, there have been the Ben 10 reboot, which I actually had a little bit of an itch to talk about. I didn't like it because, for me, I've been an OG fanboy. I watched the original. I was there at the premiere of the first show, and I loved that. I watched all the first show. I watched Alien Force. I even watched Ultimate Alien, which a lot of people say it's not that bad, not that good, but I'm like, it's good enough. It's good enough. At least it properly continues the storyline. I dropped that after Omniverse. I was like, I stayed for one story arc in Omniverse, and it was like, this isn't for me anymore. They were trying to start reconnecting with the kids again, trying to do a new thing. I mean, sure, they still acknowledge the storylines from the past 3 series, but it was like, this is going to be its own thing, and I'm like, this is not for me. I'm just going to drop out. It kept going on for much longer than that, and it kind of was a prelude for what was come with the reboot, because in Omniverse, they put an 11-year-old Ben to kind of reconnect back with the fans, because the 17-year-old Ben wasn't exactly connecting anymore with the newer fans, so they did that, and it was decided, you know what, let's just reboot the whole thing. Let's just reboot it, let's do a brand new show, let's start from scratch. They actually did break Tara strong, which I will give them credit for, but even that goes so long, because I've watched it, I don't like the animation style, I don't like the jokes, there's not really much of a story anymore, because that was the charm of the original Ben 10 series, even the Omniverse, is that there was a story, there was story progression, there was story development, character development, and I love that. The newer show hasn't done that. To say the least, I do understand, having watched a piece of every rebooted show, I do understand why a lot of fans are up in torches right now with these reboots, and why they're bashing Cartoon Network, because they're not focusing on the newer, good stuff, and they're focusing on the bad, old stuff, if you know what I mean, and I do completely understand that. But the biggest reason why I wanted to do this video at this time period, at this juncture, instead of earlier, was that Cartoon Network recently announced Total Drama Daycare. Yeah, they announced that. It's sort of like a semi-reboot. It's being acted as its own series, but it's really a reboot of sorts, which I'm like, no. As some people know, I was a big Total Drama fan. The first bulk of my videos were about Total Drama. And so, now that Cartoon Network is doing something completely new, and it's completely drastic, turning these characters that I love into babies, pretty much, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You are going way too far. I remember when Island was coming out, I remember when Action World Tour was coming in, and how much it's now been downgraded, because I haven't seen the original real Total Drama since 2014. We're now 4 years. We got the spinoff, which was okay, and now we're getting this. Is kind of insulting to me, because there is story there. There are characters that people love, and you're changing them way too much. There's just a limit that you can take with these. There's a limit. The fact is that Cartoon Network is only rebooting these shows just for the ratings, just to ride the popularity of the old days, to get some of the older fans back for the beginning, and hopefully just have the new fan base just stick with it. And that's kind of infuriates a little bit how much they have to sacrifice along the way just to get these new shows on the air. Nostalgia has its limits, obviously. That's a well-known fact. You can't ride a nostalgia forever. But for Cartoon Network, they're just doing it a little bit now too much. Now they have 4 rebooted shows on their platform. And for me, it's like they're giving so much attention to these shows, but they're not giving attention to some of the other shows that deserve attention. Like I said before, Steven Universe. Great show, great story, great characters, great everything. But the fact is, Cartoon Network's not focusing on it that much. They can go on hiatus for 6 months. That's a little bit too much of a stretch, because there's a fan base that loves this show. I love that show. I want to see more of it, but if they're constantly delaying it just so these other shows can have the platform, it's like, no. Cartoon Network only promotes their big show, but they don't promote everything else. I remember back earlier last year, when regular show ended, it was just a basic finale. It was just basic promotion. No big spectacle. Not a grand, big day to celebrate. Yes, regular show is ending. 7 years on the network. Let's go on with a big bang. It was just a regular new episode time slot. It aired, and that's it. And that was hurtful, because I was there from the first episode of regular show. I love that show, and the way Cartoon Network ended that show. Granted, I know the creators wanted it to end, but I mean, the promotion, there was barely anything, and that bothered me a little bit. I'm just wondering where the hell the old Cartoon Network went. Where did they go? I'm just a bit concerned about that, because the way things have been right now, definitely not the Cartoon Network I know and love. I'm not saying Cartoon Network was always bad at rebooted shows. Believe me, they did 2 rebooted shows back in 2010 and 2011. Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated was amazing. It was a great new take on the Scooby-Doo mythos, which had been running for, I think, around 60 years by then. It was like, okay, what more can you do with this property? And they managed to give us a compelling, story-driven 2-season show that I personally was attached to. I personally came back to it every single week. And then there was the Looney Tunes show, which granted wasn't story-driven, but it had enough witty humor and a new sense of direction to kind of like pull the right direction for that show, and I did enjoy the joke. I enjoyed most of those episodes, and that was a clear example of how to do a reboot right. But now with the newer reboots, that magic is just gone. It's just completely gone. It's just churning out content, churning out episodes. Okay, here's a funny episode joke, let's roll with it, and it just doesn't stick for me. It just doesn't stick. Now back to daycare for a second. I know it was just announced. We got maybe a 5-second reel of it, but we don't know anything. We haven't seen an episode yet, so it may not follow the trend. Maybe not. Maybe the Fresh TV folks will be able to kind of make that the old Total Drama charm, except just fitting in with the Cartoon Network style now. I really hope that's the case. I will be definitely tuning in. But at this juncture, given how Cartoon Network's recent track history is, I'm not holding much for it, sadly. I hope it does. I hope. I understand at the end of the day, Cartoon Network is for kids. People my age, my demographic, anyone older than that, is not their priority. They're not focusing on adults. They're not focusing on teenager. Their focus is for kids. And I completely understand that. I know times have changed since I was a kid. Obviously, a lot of things have changed since the early 2000s. A lot has really changed. But that doesn't mean a show has to be, let's pump out a joke every 20 seconds just to keep the fans, just to keep the kids interested in our show. It doesn't have to be. I remember the days of Codename Kid Next Door, Billy and Mandy, even Chowder, where they were able to have amazing jokes. They were able to have funny, witty comedy and still be able to tell a proper story for that episode, or for the case of K&D, a story that handled seasons long. This is why I loved Steven Universe, Gravity Falls back in the day, and even Star vs. the Fourth Season. Haven't seen that show, but I heard a lot of good things about it. They're still keeping that style going, still keeping that. Yes, cartoon can be still funny, but still story-driven and actually show some progress, show some growth in the characters. I think Cartoon Network needs to be aware that kids may not be the same from 2000, and majority of their fan base is kids, but to be completely honest with you, there is a lot of older fans that are still tuning in to Steven Universe, who stayed in for Gravity Falls, who stayed in for a lot of shows right now. And there can be a way for Cartoon Network to develop shows where it is, of course, obviously going to be marketed towards the kids, but it also can be workable and fun for older fans who definitely do exist out there. They do exist, and I know Cartoon Network is just blocking that out, just focusing on the kids, but there is an older fan base there. They do care about Cartoon Network, and they do want it to go back to some old standards that we all know and love when we were kids. I wish they can do it. I really do. Whatever their new show is, or sadly, whatever the next reboot is, because knowing Cartoon Network, there will be another reboot coming. For what show? Their guess is as good as mine. But I can hope they learn and make Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network is good, but it's just, they can be much, much better. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode of Let Joe Talk. Please subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, please like it. Share it with your friends. We can take all the love we can get. And please, as always, do nothing sexual with this video. As always, I will see you guys next week.